Hi everyone, welcome to the stream. Today is the 27th of September. It is a Tuesday. It is 2022, and it's a great day. Let me flip this around on you. Here's the fountain. A nice shot of the nature around me. We're picking up Mossflower today. New book, the second book in the Brian Jacques Redwall sagas. Alright, let me get you put back and situated. Looks good. Let me just adjust this a little bit. That looks more even. We finished with the pink gloves yesterday, so we'll start with the brown gloves today. The guy gloves. An excellent ending to Redwall yesterday. Everyone made it home safe except for a couple of people. R.I.P. Methuselah and Abbot Mortimer. Here's the new book. A Tale of Redwall, Mossflower by Brian Jacques. Tarsmenia the Ruthless. The mouse struggled against his captors, shouting out in a loud, angry voice, "Tell your guards to take their claws off me and release me. You have no right to imprison a freeborn creature." Benduga could not help but admire the obvious courage of the prisoner. He was about to speak when Tsarmia grasped the battered sword and stood over the captive with the point at his throat. "You insolent scum! Quick now, what's your name? Where did you steal this rusty relic?" As the guards pinned the struggling mouse down, his voice shook with fury. "My name is Martin the Warrior. That sword was once my father's, now it is mine. I come and go as I please, cat. Is this the welcome you show to travelers?" Tsarmia forced Martin's head back with the sword point. "You are in Mossflower country now. All the land you see on a clear day's march belongs to us by the right of conquest. My father's law says that none are allowed to be armed save his soldiers. The penalty for those who break the law is death." She beckoned the guards with a sleek cat-like move. "Take him away and execute him." That's our intro. Ooh, we got a map. Mossflower Country and beyond. You can see, I'll read each of these names, 1 second. We have the River Moss, Mossflower Woods, the Quarry, the Farm, Martin's Quest Route, Black Hath, Brock Health beneath here, Flood Tunnels, Mountains and Bat Country, Swamplands, Salmon Strong, Boar's Battle, so this is before the Abbey was built. Or right after. I'm not sure yet. We'll find out. It's been a while since I read the book. So don't get mad at me if I'm wrong there. But let's begin. Late autumn winds sighed fitfully around the open gatehouse, rustling brown gold leaves in the fading afternoon. Bella of Brock Hall struggled deeper into her old armchair up by the fire. Through half-closed eyes, she watched the small mouse peering around the doorway. "Come in, little one, and close the door." The small mouse did as she was bidden, encouraged by the badger's friendly smile. He clambered up onto the armchair and settled himself against a cushion. "You said you would tell me a story, Miss Bella." Ms. with a Z. "Everything you see about you, the harvest has gone and been gathered, from the Russell apples to the golden honey, is yours to enjoy in freedom. Listen now as the breeze sweeps the autumn leaves off into the world of winter. I will tell you of the time long ago before Redwall Abbey was built in Mossflower. In those days, there was no freedom for woodlanders. We were oppressed cruelly under the harsh rule of Verdaga, Green Eyes, and his daughter Tarsmania. It was a mouse like yourself who saved Mossflower. His name is known to all, Martin the Warrior. Ah, my little friend, I'm grown old. My little friend, I'm grown old. So are my comrades, their sons and daughters and fathers and mothers now. But that is life. The seasons still look new to young eyes. The food tastes fresher in the mouths of young ones than it does in my own. As I sit here in the warmth and peace in all lives, it all lives in my memory. A strange tale of love and war, friend and foe, great happenings and mighty deeds. Gaze into the fire, young one. Listen to me, and I will tell you a story. Book 1, Quarter. And here's our picture. It looks like a castle in a roadway. And a banner on your right, if you're looking at this. So, this is the banner, and you can see the castle looming in the background. Mossflower lay deep in the grip of midwinter beneath a sky of leaden gray that showed tinges of scarlet, orange, and orange on the horizon. A cold mantle of snow draped the landscape. Covering the flatlands to the west, snow was everywhere, filling ditches, drifting high against hedgerows, making paths invisible, smoothing the contours of the earth in its white embrace. The gaunt, leafless ceiling of Mossflower Wood was penetrated by a constant snowfall, which carpeted the sprawling woodland floor, building canopies on evergreen shrubs and bushes. Winter had muted the earth. The muffled stillness was broken only by a traveler's pause. A sturdy-built young mouse with quick dark eyes was moving confidently down the snowbound country. Looking back, he could see the tracks disappearing northwards in the distance. Farther south, the flatlands rolled off endlessly, flanked to the west by faint shapes of distant hills, while to the east stood the long, ragged fringe making the marches of Mossflower. His nose twitched at the elusive smell of burning wood and turf from some hearthfire. Cold winds scourged from the treetops, causing whirls of snow to dance in icy spirals. The traveler gathered his ragged cloak tighter, adjusted an old wrestling sword that was slung about his back, and trudged steadily forward, away from the wilderness to where other creatures lived. It was a foreboding place mean by poverty, made mean by poverty. Here and there, he saw signs of habitation. The dwellings, ravaged and demolished, made pitiful shapes under snowdrifts. Rearing high against the forest, a curious building dominated the ruined settlement, a fortress, crumbling, dark, and brooding. It was a symbol of fear to the woodland creatures of Mossflower. It was how Martin the Warrior first came to Kotor, place of the wildcats. The mean hovel on the south side of Kotor, the Stickle family crouched around a low turf fire. It gusted fitfully as the night winds pierced. The slated timbers were mud chinking where mud chinking had not been replaced. A timid scratch at the door caused them to jump nervously. Ben Stickle picked up a billet of firewood, motioning his wife Goody to keep their four little ones well back in the shadows. As the good wife Stickle covered her brood with coarse burlap blankets, Ben took a firmer grip on the wood and called out harshly in his gruffest voice, "Be off with you and leave us alone. There's not enough food in here to go around a decent hedgehog family. You already taken half of all we have to swell the larders of Koiter." Ben, 'tis Uthclaw. Open up, burr, 'tis frozen out, yer. As Ben Stickle opened the door, a homely-faced mole trundled by him and hurried across to the fire where he stood rubbing his digging paws together in front of the flames. The little ones peeped out of their blankets. Ben and Goody turned anxious face towards the visitor. Earthclaw rubbed warmth into his cold nose as he talked in the curious rustic mole speech. "Vermin, trolls be out, burr, weasels and stoats and Loki. They're looking for more victuals." Goody shook her head as she wiped a little one's snout with her apron. "I knew it. We should have run off and left this place like the others. Where in the name of Spikes will find food to pay their tolls?" Ben Stickle threw down the piece of firewood despairingly. Where can we run in midwinter with four little ones? They'd perish long before spring." Earthclaw produced a narrow strip of silver birch bark and held a paw to his mouth, indicating silence. Scratched the bark in charcoal a single word, "Coram." Beneath it was a sample picture map showing the route into a Mossflower woods far from Koiter. Ben studied the map, torn in between the chance of escape and his family's predicament. The frustration was clear on his face. "Bang, bang, open up in there. Come on, get this door open. This is an official Koiter patrol. Soldiers!" Ben took one last glance at the strip of bark and threw it in the fire. As Goody lifted the latch on the door, the door was thrust open forcefully. She was swept to one side as the soldiers packed into the room. Out of the winter night chill, they pushed and shoved each other roughly. A ferret named Blacktooth and a stoat named Splitnose seemed to be in charge of the patrol. Ben Stickle sighed in relief as they turned away from the burning strip of wood with their backs to the fire. "Well now, dozy Spikes, where are you all hiding the bread and cheese and October ale?" Ben could scarce keep the hatred from his voice as he answered the sneering Blacktooth. "It's many a long season since I tasted cheese or October ale. There's bread on the shelf, but only enough for my family." Splitnose spat into the fire and reached for the bread. Ben Stickle was blocking from stopping the stoat by a barrier of spear shafts as he tried to push forward. Goody placed the restraining paw on her husband's. "Spikes, please, Ben, don't fight him. The great bullies." Earthclaw chimed in. "Your baitin' much can do against spears, Ben." Blacktooth turned to the mole as if seeing him for the first time. "Huh, What are you doing here, Blink Eye? One of the little hedgehogs threw the sapling aside and faced the stoat boldly. He came in for warmth by our fire. Leave him alone. Splitnose burst out laughing, spraying crumbs from the bread he was eating. Look out, Blackie. There's more of him under the blanket. I'd watch him if I were you. The nearby weasel threw back the covering, exposing 3 little ones. Blacktooth seized them up. They look big enough for it to do a day's work. Goodwife Stickle sprang fiercely in front of them. You let my little ones be. They ain't harmed nobody. Blacktooth seemed to ignore her. He knocked the loaves from Splitnoose's paws and turned to a weasel. He issued orders. Pick that bread up and no sly munchin'. Deliver it to the stores when we get back to the garrison. Waving his spear, he signaled the patrol out of the hut. As Blacktooth left, he called back to Ben and Goody. I want to see those 4 hogs out in the field tomorrow. Either that or you can all spend the rest of your winter safe and warm in Coulter dungeons. Earthclaw kept an eye to a crack in the door, watching the patrol make its way towards Coulter. Ben wasted no time. He had been wrapping the young ones in all the blankets they possessed. Right, that's it. Enough is enough. We go tonight. You're right, old girl. We should have left in the woods with the rest long ago. What'd you say, Earthclaw? The mole stood, his eye pressed against the crack in the door. You can come and look at this. When Ben shared the crack with his friend, Goody continued swathing her young ones with blankets. What is it, Ben? They're not coming back, are they? No, wife. Oh, look. By hokey, see? Punched, he landed one on that weasel. Go on, give him another, laddo. Freddy, the little one who had spoken of, scuttled over and tugged at Ben's paw. Punch? Who punched the weasel? What's happening? Ben described the scene as he watched it. It's a mouse. Big strong feller, too. They're trying to capture him. That's it. Now kick him again. Go on. A mouse. But not... You think a full patrol of soldiers could handle a mouse? But not this one. He must be a real trained warrior. Whew, look at it. He knocked Blacktooth flat on his back. Pity they're hanging on his sword like that. By the spikes, he's caused some damage if that blade between his paw, rusty as it is. Freddy jumped up and down. Let me see, I want to see. Ferdy. Earthclaw turned slowly away from the door. Bain't much use, little hedge pig. They're going down now. I rope too. Her worry, pity. There be too many for 'em to fight. Got brave warrior though. Ben was momentarily crestfallen. Then he collapsed his paws together. Now is the time while the patrol's busy with the fighter. They've got a job on their paws, dragging him back to the castle. Come on, let's get it going. While the going's good. A short while later, the fire was burning to embers in an empty hut as the little band trudged into the vast woodland sprawl of Mossflower. Blinking water from their eyes as they kept their heads down against the keen wind, Earthclaw followed up the rear, obliterating the paw tracks from the snowy ground. Hello, Styles Retro 7. Let's change gloves. We're on chapter 2. How is your day going? I love those emotes. What's the top one? Hype. Hype, hype. And then we got a moderator helm and a sword. Very cool. Thank you for stopping by and chatting. It means a lot. Pink gloves now. And some water. Oh, Here's the picture. Looks to be a mouse with a dagger and a sack over his shoulder. Noth, the mouse thief, padded silently along the passage from the larder and storeroom of Koiter. He was a plump little creature, clad in a green jerkin with a broad buckled belt. He was a ducker and a weaver of life, a marvelous mimic, ballad writer, singer, lockpick, and very jovial with it all. The woodlanders were immensely fond of the little thief. Knopf shrugged it all off, calling every creature his matey, an imitation of otters whom he greatly admired. Chuckling quietly to himself, he drew the small dagger from his belt and cut off a wedge from the cheese he was carrying, slung around his shoulder with a large dark flask of elderberry wine which he had stolen from the larder. Knopf ate and drank, singing quietly to himself in a deep brass voice between mouthfuls of cheese. The Prince of Mouthpiece honors you to visit here this day. So keep your larder door shut tight. Lock all your food away. Oh, foolish ones, go check your store of food so rich and fine. Be sure that I will be back for more, especially this wine. At the sounds of heavy paws, Knopf fell silent, melting back into the shadows. He huddled around and held his breath. Two weasels dressed in armor and carrying spears trudged past. They were arguing heatedly. Listen, I'm not taking the blame for you stealing from the larder. Who, me? Be careful what you say, mate. I'm no thief. Well, you're looking very fat lately, that's all I'll say. Not half as pudgy as you, lard barrel. Lard barrel yourself, you're accusing me next? Ha, you're in charge of the key, so who else could it be? It could be you, you're always down there with me when I am. I only go to keep an eye on you, mate. And I only go to keep an eye on you, so there. Right, we'll keep an eye on each other then. Knopf stuffed a paw in his mouth to stifle a giggle. The weasels stopped and looked at each other. What was that? Oh, I know what it was. You're laughing at me. Don't talk stupid. Talking stupid, am I? Indignantly, the weasel turned off away from his companion. Knopf quickly called out in a passable weasel voice imitation. Big, fat robber! The two weasels turned furiously upon each other. Big fat robber, eh? Take that! Ouch, you sneaky toad! Take this! The weasels thwacked madly at each other with their spear handles. Knopf sneaked out of hiding and crept off in the opposite direction, leaving the two guards rolling on the passage floor, their spears forgotten as they bit and scratched each other. Ow, let go! Grr, take that! I'll give you, robber, have some of this! Oh, you bit my ear! Sheathing his dagger and shaking with mirth, Knopf unlatched the window shutter and slipped away through the snow towards the woodlands. Oh, fight, lads, fight, scratch, lads, bite. Knopf will dine on cheese and wine when he gets home tonight. Martin dug his heels into the snow, skidding as he was dragged bodily through the outer wall gates of the forbidding heap that he'd sighted earlier that day. Armored soldiers clanked and clattered together as they were dragged inward by the ropes that restrained the prisoner, none of them wanting to get too close to the fighting mouse. Blacktooth and Splitnose closed the main gates with much bad-tempered slamming. Powdered snow blew down on them from top of the perimeter walls. The parade ground snow was hammered flat and slippery by soldiers dashing hither and thither, some carrying lighted torches, ferrets, weasels, and stoats. Other of them, one of them called out to Splitnose, "Hoy, Splitty! Any sign of the fox out there?" The stoat shook his head. "What do you mean, the healer? Not a whisker. We caught a mouse, though. Look at this thing he was carrying." Splitnose waved Martin's rusted sword aloft. Blacktooth ducked. "Stop playing with that thing. You'll slash somebody twirling around like that." "So they were waiting on the fox again, eh? Old Green Eyes doesn't seem to be getting any better lately. Hey, you there. Keep these ropes tight. Hold him still, you blockheads." The entrance hall door proved doubly difficult as the warrior mouse managed to cling to one of the timber posts. The soldiers had to practically pry him loose with their spears. The weasel had been given charge of the bread, kept well out of it. Heading directly for the storeroom and larder, he passed through the entrance hall. He was challenged by others who cast covetous eyes upon the brown, home-baked loaves. It had been a hard winter since many creatures had deserted the settlement around Koiter after the early autumn harvesting, taking with them much produce as they could carry to the woodlands. There was not such a great dead toll or levy coming in. There was not such a great deal of toll or levy coming in. The weasel clutched the bread close as he padded along. The hall was hostile and damp with wooden shutters. Across the long windows, the floor was made from dark granite-like rock, very cold to the paws. Here and there, the nighttime guards had lit small fires in the corner, which stained the walls black with smoke and ash. Only captains were allowed to wear long cloaks as a mark of rank, but several soldiers had draped themselves in old sacks and blankets purloined from the settlement. The stairs down to the lower half were a jumble of worn spirals and flights of straight stone pieces with no particular sequence. Half the wall torches had burned away and had not been replaced, leaving large areas of stairs dark and dangerous. Moss and fungus grew on most of the lower level walls and stairs. Hurrying down the narrow passage, the weasel banged into the storeroom door. A key turned in the lock. "What have you got there? Loaves, eh? Bring 'em in." The two guards who had been fighting were sitting on flour sacks. One of them eyed the bread hungrily. "Huh, is that all you got tonight? I tell you, mate, things are getting from bad to worse around here. Who sent you down with them?" "Blacktooth." "Oh, him? Did he count them?" No, I don't think so." "Good. There's 5 loaves. We each take half a loaf each. That'll leave 3.5. Nobody will notice the difference." They tore hungrily at Goody Stickle's brown oven loaves. Upstairs, Martin had managed to wrap one of the ropes around a stone column. Soldiers were jeering at the effort of the patrol to get him away and up the stairs. "Yeah, that's what's the matter, lads. Are you scared of him?" "Yeah, what's the matter, lads? Are you scared of him?" Blacktooth turned on the mocking crowd. "Any of you lot fancying me to go with him?" "No, I thought not." The door opened behind him, and snow blew with a cold, dusty gust. A fox wearing a ragged cloak trotted past them and up the broad flat stairs to their first floor. The soldiers found a new target for their remarks. "Ho ho! Just you wait, Fox, you're late." "Ah, old Green Eyes doesn't like to be kept waiting. I'd keep out of Lady Taramasa Tasarmia's way if I were you." Ignoring them, the fox swept quickly up the stairs. The jeering soldiers started shouting and calling humorous advice again. Blacktooth tried freezing them into silence with a stern glance, but they took no notice of him this time. Splitnose sniffed in disgust. Discipline has gone to the wall since Lord Verdaga's been sick. Fortuna the vixen awaited nervously in the draughty Anton Hall of Coiter. A low fire was cast. It's guttering. Gotta grab some water. One sec. A low fire cast its guttering light around the damp sandstone walls. Slimy green algae and fungus grew between sodden banners as they slowly disintegrated into threadbare tatters suspended from rusty iron holders. The vixen could not suppress a shudder. Presently she was joined by two ferrets dressed in cumbersome chainmail. Both bore shields emphasized with emblazoned with the device of their masters, a myriad of evil green eyes watching in all directions. The guards pointed their spears, indicating the fox should follow them, and Fortuna fell in step, marching off down the long, dank hallway. They halted in front of two oaken doors, which swung open as the ferrets banged their spear butts against the door. The vixen was confronted by a scene of ruined grandeur. Candles and torches scarcely illuminated the room. The crossbeams above were practically lost in darkness. At one end there were three ornate chairs occupied by two wildcats and a pine marten. Behind those stood a four-post bed, complete with tight drawn curtains of musty green velvet. It was its footboard carved with the same device as the shields of the guards. The mantra hobbled across and searched the satchel Fortuna carried. The vixen shrank from contact with the baffled, disfigured creature. Ashenleg, the marten, had a wooden leg and his entire body was twisted on one side as if it had been badly maimed. To disguise this, he wore an overlong red cloak trimmed with wood pigeon feathers. With an expert flick, he turned the contents of the satchel onto the floor. It was a jumble judder of herbs, roots, leaves, mosses, carried by a healer fox. Approaching the bed, Ashley called out in an eerie sing-song dirge, "Almighty Verduga, Lord of Mossflower, Master of thousand eyes, Slayer of enemies, Ruler of Coiter." Give me your whining tongue a rest, Ashleg. Is the fox here? Get those suffocating curtains out of my way. The imperious voice from behind the curtains sounded hoarse but full of snarling menace. Tis Armenia, the larger of the two seated wildcats, sprang forward, sweeping back the dusty bed curtains in a single move. "Fortuna's here. Don't exert yourself, father," the vixen said, slid to the The vixen slid to the bedside with practiced ease and examined her savage patient. Verdaga of the Thousand Eyes had once been the mightiest warlord in the land. Now his muscles and sinew lay wasted under the tawny fur that covered his big, tired body. The face was that of a wildcat who had survived many battles. The pointed ears stood above a terrace of old scars. I just spilled my water. Sorry about that. That ran from the crown to whiskers. Fortuna looked at the fearsome yellow teeth and the green barbarian eyes still alight with strange fires. "My lord looks better today, yes?" None the better for your worthless mumbo-jumbo, Fox. The smaller of the two seated wildcats rose from his chair with an expression of concern upon his gentle face. Father, stay calm. Fortuna is trying hard to get you well again. Tersarmia pushed him aside scornfully. Oh, shut up, Genevieve. You must mean you mealy-mouthed. Tersarmia! Verdaga pulled himself into a sitting position and pointed a claw at the headstrong daughter. Don't talk to your brother that way. Do you hear me? The Lord of the Thousand Eyes turned wearily to his only son, Genevieve. Genevieve, don't let her bully you. Stand up to her, son. Genevieve shrugged and stood by silently as Fortuna ground herbs in a pestle, mixing them with dark liquid in a horn beaker. Verdaga eyed the vixen suspiciously. No more leeches, Fox. I won't have those filthy slugs sucking my blood. I'd sooner have an enemy's sword cut me than those foul things. What's that rubbish you're concocting? Fortuna smiled winningly. Sire, this is a harmless potion made from the herb of motherwort. It will help you sleep. Squire Genevieve, would you give this to your father, please? As Genevieve administered the medicine to Verdaga, neither of them noticed the look of slyness or the wink that passed between Fortuna and Tarsmania. Verduga settled back down in bed and waited for the draught to take effect. Suddenly, the peace was broken by a loud commotion from outside. The double doors burst open. Okay, I think that's where we're going to stop with this book today. But there's another book we're going to be reading, if anyone's interested, and it's Code. The book's name is Code. It's by Microsoft Press. And we're going to read 2 chapters. And they're going to be about Morse code. If anyone's interested in learning about Morse code, stop on by. Oh, I'll leave these gloves on. I'm going to sing you the Marine Corps hymn. We got through chapters 00, 01, and 02 today. Tomorrow we'll pick up with chapter 3. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we fight our country's battles in the air, on land, and the sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marines. Our flags unfurled to every breeze, from dawn to setting sun. We have fought in every clime and place where you could take a gun. In the snow of far-off northern lands and in sunny tropic scenes, you will find us always on the job, the United States Marines. Here's health to you and to our Corps, which we are proud to serve. In many a strife we fought for life and never lost our nerve. If the Army and the Navy ever looked on heaven's scenes, they will find the streets are guarded by United States Marines. Semper Fi. Hoorah. Thank you, everyone, for stopping by. Viewers, chatters, listeners, and feelers. And I think you're a feeler if you're somebody that just lurks. You're like, I want to be a part of this, but I don't have time or I'm interested in something else. But I support. Thank you to all the feelers that opened the stream today and opened the YouTube video and just looked for a second. It means a lot. Okay, let's get a shot of the fountain and then we'll call it a day. I will be back in a couple hours. I'm going to upload this video to YouTube, make some food, and then we'll start code. And we'll read 2 chapters of that. Not 3, 2. We'll go by 2s. It's a difficult chapter. Anyhow, here's the fountain. Semper Fi, everyone. Have a wonderful day. I will see you shortly. Ta-ta for now.